Alright, quick question. Who is smarter? The wise man or the person who comes to him for advice? It's the wise man. That's why he is called the wise man. And today I will take you to the wise man named Seneca and we will look at his advice to avoid mass crowd. So let's jump into his letter. Okay, so we are going to read this letter where Seneca talks about avoiding the mass crowd. So let's start. This is letter number 7. Okay, so we are starting from here. I have highlighted the area. You ask me to say what you should consider it particularly important to avoid. My answer is this: a mass crowd. Okay, so for him it is very, very important to avoid mass crowd, and we will see his reasoning in the coming words. It is something to which you cannot entrust yourself yet without risk. I, at any rate, am ready to confess my own frailty in this respect. I never come back home with quite the same moral character I went out with. I never came back home with quite the same moral character I went out with. Something or other becomes unsettled, where I had achieved internal peace. Okay? Someone or other of the things I had to put to flight reappears on the scene. So that's a very, very thoughtful argument to avoid mass crowd. You have fought your internal thoughts and you have come over them. You have achieved a victory, and then all of a sudden you're interacting with these people all the time and you end up getting those thoughts back in your system, and now you are thinking about the things that are not in your control, that don't matter at all in your lifetime, but somehow they become your problem, and now you have to again fight those thoughts in your minds. And it is very, very good argument. Let's go further and read it. We who are recovering from a prolonged spiritual sickness are in the same conditions as invalids who have been affected to such an extent by prolonged indisposition that they cannot once be taken out of doors without ill effects. That's true. Everyone is affected by it. Associating with people in large numbers is actually harmful. There is not one of them that will not make some wise or other attractive to us. Okay. So what does wise mean in this context is immoral. Okay. Or else to leave us carrying the imprint of it, or beyond all unawares with it. Okay. And inevitably enough, the larger the size of the crowd we mingle with, the greater the danger. That's very true. I completely agree with this. The larger the crowd size is, you can expect more stupidity, and it goes without saying that you will encounter. Even I have seen that intelligent people act very stupidly when they are in large crowd. They somehow leave their brain in the home when, they gather at places. So like they don't bring their brain with them. So you should completely avoid such crowds. But nothing is as ruinous to the character as sitting away one's time to a show. Okay. So now ruinous means disastrous. Okay. I know somehow I'm not able to remove this bar in the Kindle. Okay. I'm finally able to turn that. Okay, so like at a show, okay. So I think when this letter was written, they didn't have Netflix back then. So they used to go out, in the stadiums to watch some kind of show for the entertainment, because they don't have access to Netflix. There is no internet, and they don't even have a TV at homes. So this letter is written in very, very old days. But now, okay, let's through the medium of entertainment. Okay, that voices creep into one with more than unusual ease. Okay, what do you take me to mean? That I go home more selfish, more self seeking, and more self indulgent? Yes, and what is more, a person crueler and less humane through having been in contact with human beings. Okay, I happened to go on one of these shows at the time of the lunch hour interlude, expecting there to be some light and witty entertainment, and then some respite for the purpose of affording people's eye a rest from human blood. Okay, I think we have to reread this one, but we can clearly see that Seneca used to go, like he used to take some time off, and and in lunch he could go out and watch these shows. I think he was living in lucky times, because I can't leave office while my lunch, but apparently he could. I mean, of course, I'm kidding. I happened to, let's reread. Let's reread this. I happened to go to one of these shows at the time of the lunch hour interlude. Interlude. Okay, what does it mean? Okay, lunch hour interlude. Okay. Expecting there to be some light and witty entertainment, then some respite for the purpose of affording people's eye a rest from human blood. Far from it. All the earlier contests were charity in comparison. Okay. The nonsense is dispensed with now. What we have now is murder, pure and simple. The combatants have nothing to protect them. Their whole bodies are exposed to the blows. Every thrust they launch gets home. Okay, so basically it's sort of a WWE show. It is sort of something like that, maybe a little bit more dangerous, because back then we didn't have things like concussion check. Of course, I'm underestimating these things, but the point is it was somewhat like wrestling that he is going at a lunchtime to watch for entertainment. A great many spectators prefer this to the ordinary matches and even to the special popular demand ones. And quite naturally, there are no helmets and no shields repelling the weapons. Okay, so the world has not changed a lot. Still, like, even though people are acting, but they don't have helmets, they don't have any shields or protection gears. People get injured, people die also. What is the point of armor or of skill? All that sort of thing just makes the death slower in coming. Okay. In the morning, men are thrown to the lions and the bears, but it is these spectators they are thrown to in the lunch hour. Okay. The spectators insist that each on killing his man shall be thrown against another to be killed in his turn, and the eventual victor is reserved by them for some other form of butchery. The only exit for the contestants is death. Okay. All the participants who are participating in this program, in this event, are going to die, and the audience, the crowd will cheer for that they are dying, because maybe those people who are fighting each other are criminals. So let's read more about it. I think initially we were talking about mass crowd, and now he is sharing the event where he goes and he sees how the mass crowd is reacting to the events that is happening in front of them. But he was a highway robber. He killed a man. And what of it? Granted that as a murderer he deserved the punishment. What have you done, you wretched fellow, to deserve to watch it? Kill him, flog him, burn him. Why does he run at the other man's weapon in such a cowardly way? Why isn't he less half-hearted about killing? Why isn't he a bit more enthusiastic about dying? Whip him forward to get his wounds. Make them each offer the other a bare breast and trade below on hang them. Okay, yeah. And when there is an interval in the show, Let's have some throats cut in the meantime, so that there is something happening. Come now, I say, surely you people realize. If you realize nothing else, that bad examples have a way of recoiling on those who set them. Give thanks to the immortal gods that the man to whom you are giving a lesson in cruelty are not in a position to profit from it. Okay, so I want to backtrack and want to stress on this line that vices creep into one with more than usual ease when they are going through some medium of entertainment. And I wonder what Seneca would have said about today's world, where you don't even have to go out of your home for those voices to creep in your head. You can just do it using Instagram through your phone or TikTok through your phone. Those voices can creep into you. That cheap content that no one has thought about very deeply can creep into your mind, and then you are starting to think about the things that don't matter much because someone was rage baiting, for example. So now you don't even have to go out of the home to get this effect, right? Let's read more. When a mind is impressionable and has none too firm a hold on what is right, it must be rescued from the crowd. This is very, very important point, I think. It is so easy for it to go over to the majority. A Socrates, a Cato, a Lilius might have been shaken in his principles by a multitude of people different from himself. Okay, I don't know how to pronounce this name, but let's just move forward for now. Such is the measure of inability of any of us. Even as we perfect our personalities' adjustment to withstand one set of voices when they come with such a mighty following. Okay. A single example of extravagance or greed does a lot of harm. An intimate who leads a pampered life gradually makes one soft and flabby. Okay. A wealthy neighbor provokes cravings in one. A companion with, okay, that's, like, it's something like you are very happy with your life and you see someone having better life, not in terms of quality, because at after one point it is same, but in terms of luxury, like someone has a very expensive car and that somehow ruins your day, especially on internet. So if your mind doesn't have a firm hold on what is right and what you have to do with your life, or you don't have a clarity, then, and you don't have a right clarity, by the way, then these things creep in day-to-day life, and you become somewhat corrupt. And that's why it is very important to be rescued from the crowd. Let's read more. A companion with a malicious nature tends to rub off some of his rust even on someone of an innocent and open-hearted nature. What then do you imagine the effect on a person's character is when the assault comes from the world at large? Okay. So basically the point is, when one person can influence your mind and trick your mind into focus on something that is unimportant, imagine how, if plenty of people believe something and you are going opposite of that, or you are not even going opposite of that. Maybe you think a little bit different than them, but then you interact with them, and how are they going to pull your thinking, pull your thoughts in their direction? And I totally agree with it. It definitely does affect your way of thinking. You must inevitably either hate or imitate the world. This is so true. You must inevitably either hate or imitate the world. You try to act differently so that it aligns more with the way the world thinks, or internally you start hating the world. You are like, why the world is like that? Why people are so maybe thinking differently than I am thinking? Maybe you can start hating people also. You are starting hating the world. You start hating people around it. You start hating people around you. And I think that's not the right thing to do. And both of the things are not right. You don't have to become like the world and you don't have to either hate it. But the right thing is to shun both courses. Yes, I completely agree with this. But it is very difficult to do. You should neither become like the bad because they are many, nor be an enemy of the many because they are unlike you. Very, very wise words by very, very wise man. Retire into yourself as much as you can. This is a very good advice. Spend time with yourself. And what does it mean? It doesn't mean that you are watching YouTube all day. Spend time with yourself means that you spend time with yourself, with your brain, with your thoughts, and you are basically observing how your mind is thinking. And in the first stages, you are trying to observe that how corrupt your mind has become and from where these thoughts are coming from. You have to evaluate yourself, and it is a very hard job to do. Associate with people who are likely to improve you. I completely agree with that. I think usually we associate with the people who are just around us. Randomly they are around us and we associate with them and we make their personality our personality. It's like you are like 5 people you spend the most time with, right? And I think that saying is somewhat true. It is not 100% true, but it is somewhat true. Welcome those whom you are capable of improving. I think this, you don't have to do it because it's not for you. Let's move forward. The process is a mutual one. Man learns as they teach. Okay, yeah. And there is no reason why any pride in advertising your talent should abroad. Okay. And there is no reason why any pride in advertising your talents abroad should lure you forward into the pubic eye, inducing you to give readings of your works or deliver lectures. I should be glad to see you doing that if what you had to offer them was suitable for the crowd I have been talking about, but the fact is not one of them is really capable of understanding you. That is true. That is true. So I want to emphasize one thing. I think when this letter was written, I don't think people had so many choices about who they want to listen to. People grew up in some area and they have to listen by default to the people who are around them. But now in 2026, when I'm reading this, a lot of things have changed. You have options. You can do more research. You can play with more ideas. You can understand different philosophies, and then you can come to good conclusions and better conclusions, which will benefit the whole world. So now you have choices. But again, most of those choices that you have, most of the things you see on the internet are very, very cheap and very, very repeatable. So you have to be very attentive and very selective about the things. You might perhaps come across one here and there, but even they would need to be trained and developed by you to point where they could grasp your teaching. I completely agree with this. Because I have noticed so many times whenever you tell people something which doesn't fit with them, because, for whatever reason, you can't get your point across. And I think it is not worth trying it. it is it is not worth trying to speak with the audience that will never understand you. You should uh, you don't you don't make the audience, you find the audience. That's how it is. Hardly, you can make an audience maybe in 1 2 cases, but usually you find the audience. Usually they are the people who are going through the same journey, and you find them and they like you. So that's how it works. For whose benefits then did I learn it all? That's a very good question. I think when Seneca is writing this to Lucius, he is trying to think what Lucius might question. He is trying to, guess what questions he might have, and he's trying to answer it in the same letter. And it's very smart of him. If it was for your own benefit that you learnt it, you have no call to fear that your trouble may have been wasted. Okay. Just to make sure that I have not been learning solely for my own benefit today, let me share with you 3 fine quotations I have come across, each concerned with something like the same idea. One of them is by way of payment of the usual debt so far as this letter is concerned, and the other two you are to regard as an advance on account. Okay, so he is going to share 3 quotations. Let's see what they are. To me, says Democritus. Okay, let's read it. A single man is a crowd, and a crowd is a single man. Equally good is the answer given by the person, whoever it was, his identity is uncertain, who, when asked what was the object of all the trouble he took over a piece of craftsmanship when it would never reach more than a very few people, replied, "A few is enough for me, so is one, and so is none." Okay, that's great. That's my strategy to make YouTube videos. A few is enough for me, so is one, and so is none. Before we move on and read the third quote, I want to backtrack and spend some time on the first quote. A single man is a crowd, and a crowd is a single man. So here I want to say that be an individual. Don't represent the crowd. Represent yourself. And this is the primary thing. If your thoughts are not clear and you cannot represent even yourself, if you are not sure about yourself, don't go and represent a crowd. It is most easy thing to do. To have an audience, or to become a leader of the crowd, only one thing you need to do, which is very, very important. You have to confirm their biases, and you have to tell them that they are absolutely right, and you have to tell them that they think absolutely right, whatever they say is absolutely right, whatever they believe is absolutely correct. That's how you become that's how you leave the herd of ships. But don't become that man, because that man have no clarity. That man will crumble under pressure. That man doesn't know what is right and wrong. And so don't be that man. Be a person who have spent some time with his thoughts personally in his alone time and have come up with some reasonable understanding about himself and about the world. And then you try and go and you talk with people. However, it may be waste of time even at that point, because interacting with people, most of the time you will not find the right people to interact with. Most of the time the people just want to hear they are right. So maybe it will be waste of time even then. But don't be a photocopy. Don't be an exact photocopy of what other people are around you. Don't be an exact photocopy. It is not going to help the world. Let's read the third expression. The third is a nice expression used by Epicurus in a letter to one of his colleagues. I am writing this, he says, not for the eyes of the many, but for yours alone. For each of us is audience enough for the other. Very true. Lay these up in your heart, my dear Lucius, that you may scorn the pleasure that come from the majority's approval. Okay. The many speak highly of you, but you have really any grounds for satisfaction with yourself if you are the kind of the person the many understand? Your marriage should not be outward facing. Very, very true. This is a good point to end this video. Thank you for watching.